Good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Since morning, we were talking about different subjects in automotive logistics. We were talking about the logistics of manufacturing, the kind of manufacturing happening in India, the scale, the exports, everything related to it. Building on the conversations that we had since morning, right now what we are talking about is the transport of tomorrow, but grounded on the realities of today. I don't want to give too many numbers, for example, as an introduction, but one comment that I saw recently, the managing director and the chief executive officer of the Maruti Suzuki India, earlier this year made a comment which is very interesting for me, which captures the scale of Indian manufacturing. What he said is, I'm quoting him here, what they tried to do in the last 40 years, they are going to replicate it in the next 6 years. That shows the scale with which the manufacturing that is going to happen, and it is happening right now. And more recently in September, during the annual session of ACMA, he addressed and he made a very interesting speech over there. He went through multiple stages of the automotive supply chain, the automotive manufacturing and everything. Supply chain was a very important part of that particular speech that he had. And he went from the disruptions of COVID to the Suez Canal and the geopolitics, how all of things affecting the supply chain basically. This shows how important is supply chain and logistics. To discuss this subject, I have a very interesting panel with me. I have a logistics expert with 30 years of experience representing a shipper who handles, in fact, from the demand planning till the door delivery in some of the biggest global markets. I have a logistics service provider who again handles the end-to-end logistics, and I also have one of the most important airport in the world. What I will do is I will give my speakers 2 minutes of time to introduce themselves, the company they represent, the role they have, and their relation to this particular subject to begin with. Let me start with Shikhar.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for giving me this platform to express my views and opinion. I look after the logistics and supply chain for the farm sector in Mahindra and Mahindra. So for those of you who don't know, Mahindra is the world's largest tractor manufacturing company, by volumes. And most of the people know our organization as an automotive producing company. Yes, we are there, but tractors, we are number one. And in India, we control almost 44% of the market share for tractors and farm equipment. So my primarily job is right from securing the orders and then to execute them, get the production done from the different plants that we have and send them to their final destination. So all in all, this is what I do in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you, Shikhar. That's a very important role. I will get back to you. We would like to know more about your challenges and opportunities over there. Thanks. Let me go to Agnelo. Give us an idea about your role and the company.
Thanks, Libin, and good afternoon, colleagues and friends. Again, thanks for inviting Jeena in this summit and me in this panel. Hey, Jeena Logistics is a 125-year young organization, I would say, and it encompasses a lot in terms of multimodal management, in customs network, transportation, last mile delivery. And we are very active in the automobile industry, and that's the reason we have the Jeena Schnellke tie-up, which deals only with the vertical automobile. So we are in depth in that, handling first mile, last mile, vendor PO management, door-to-door deliveries. Yeah.
Thank you, Agnelo. We'll definitely get back to you about some of the innovations that you have, the company is doing. Okay.
Well, once again, thank you very much for having us here. It's an absolute pleasure to be back on Automotive Supply Chain Management Summit, being a partner from the very beginning. Frankfurt Airport is Europe's leading air cargo gateway for imports and exports into the European Union and the neighboring countries. And as a massive logistics hub, I think, or we think it is our duty to directly liaise with shippers, with freight forwarders, in order to understand the business, to equip our airport to supply the right infrastructure, both in concrete or in IT, to make it easier to fly cargo via Frankfurt Airport and therefore access the European markets or get cargo from the European markets. And that's my main job. I'm the Director Cargo Partnership, so I work mainly with shippers and freight forwarders. And with me is Stefan, who's our strategy guy, who especially looks into IT and high-tech products coming into Europe or coming out of Europe.
Thank you, Joachim. We'll get back to you. We would like to listen to you from you about the infrastructure developments that is happening at the airport in the later stage. Let me come to Shikhar. You give an introduction to what you do. We would like to know more. You are involved in the demand planning at the manufacturing plants that you have in multiple places in India. Then you move these tractors, for example, to ports, and then so take us through that entire journey, and particularly we would like to know the challenges that you face.
Sure. So once we get the demand from the various global markets, we are exporting to almost 40 countries worldwide. US is our most important market, where we have been badly hit last couple of months for the tariff and all. So that production cycle is given to the plants every month, and we do believe in a JIT system, just in time. So it follows with the just in case, as somebody said earlier in the day. So that is what are our challenges. So once we get these production units made, they are mostly containerized. We use containerization at our plants, and then it is moved to different ports across the country, and then it is exported, and sometimes we are giving door deliveries directly to the warehouses of the customers. So primarily, in the job, the key challenges that we face is related to the demand planning which is there. So today we are dealing, at least in the farm sector, with almost 30,000 parts which are sourced globally and domestically, of course, for the tractor division. For auto, it is almost similar kind of this thing. So sourcing from such a vast component arena and having almost a few thousand, the suppliers. So that itself is possibly the biggest challenge. And especially what happens in exports is, unlike our domestic production, is that our volumes are comparatively low. So if we have, say, for one particular SKU model in domestic, it is about 500 to 1,000 units, which is there as a monthly order. But unlike that in exports, we might have, 10 units or a 20 unit or 50 units for one particular SKU model. But the geographical area where we operate in exports is totally different. Each country needs its own specification. It depends on the soil conditions, the regulations, and all these things. So there is a lot of complexity in getting these parts and components arriving at the plant in time, so that we can produce and they, send them to the customer. So as we speak, while, I've been sitting there, so there is a live case going on where, a customer in Indonesia needs some 300 tractors and 20,000 LCVs, So that's a huge order, for the group. But their condition is, you give me these 300 tractors first, and then that order follows. So which we are really struggling with the components and parts right now and don't know the outcome. I'll let you know separately on that. So this is a very key challenge, and it evolves mostly, due to globalization, tech evolution, and the customer preferences also change very frequently because of the platforms that are available in the market. So we have to be, part of that whole ecosystem and try and give the best possible deals that we can give in the right time. So this is, I would say, the most important challenge to meet this thing. Then there are other, challenges like, there are transportation constraints which we face very regularly. Our plants are located, say in Nagpur or Zairabad near Hyderabad and in Mohali. So these are all very far away from the ports. And we face quite a bit of difficulties when there is a spike in orders. So we either use rail or roadways to get a connectivity to the ports. Now with railways, the problem in using inland container depots is that, they have a 10 days or a 7 days shipping lines have a cutoff for a particular vessel. So now if you are not able to meet that 10 days, then you sit on, your container sits on for another 7 days to catch the next vessel. You miss this. And if you need, say, 50 trailers in one shot for movement of containers, you are grossly facing shortages of trailers and all. So managing this whole thing across, these 3-4 plants that we work, and also the cross-border shipments like into Nepal and Bangladesh. So that is also one of the key challenges that we face. Then secondly, I would say that, due to this lean manufacturing and JIT system, so there is a very small window in which we have to operate. The sourcing team has to operate in that small window, and there is always problems related to, vessel schedules and so many issues like congestion and disruption in the trade. So that itself poses its own problems, I would say.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shikhar. Thank you so much for taking us through the entire supply chain and different challenges that you face. Let me come to Agnelo. You just heard from a shipper his challenges, right from the tariffs to the trucks availability on rail, multiple things we have heard. As a logistics service provider who handles the entire supply chain, give us an idea about how you handle some of these challenges.
See, Libin, as Sir explained on these challenges, global forwarding today for complete and finished vehicles is always being a very big complexity as of today because of a lot of factors in terms of global sourcing, in terms of increased pressure on costing, landed costing, and more visibility requirement and zero tolerance for any delays. So in this case, what we have identified with OEMs and tier suppliers is that some of the 3 key challenges are that the pressure on the landed cost, visibility on JIT and JIS deliverabilities, and a seamless multimodal transportation which encompasses ocean, air, road, rail transportation. So in this case, what we do is we have long-term contracts with carriers with multiple carriers where we give them certain volume commitments due to our vast network facilities, where we have dead freight arrangement with airlines. So in this way, what happens is a lot of cargo which is much urgent, which is much required to be moved, we handle it through our contracts and through our network partners. In terms, once a shipment comes in over here, because of our local expertise, we do into customs brokerage, where we are widely there in the full India, and transportation in terms of where we are an asset light company, but we have our transport agents agreements with various transporting companies, where we can look into the requirement of the customer, how it has to be brought in, when it has to be brought in, what is the deliverable times, and also do backward working with the carriers in terms of when do they require the cutoff, when is the demand, when is the planning has to be set in for these containers to be entered into the CFS for stuffing it and movement of this cargo. In GIT and GIS, what we have seen is velocity and visibility are the two main key factors. So for that, we have also developed a control tower, digital control tower, which takes care of the end-to-end logistics, right from the PO management raised up to a deliverable. Everything is automated. Everything is seen into route intelligences mapped out. Exceptions are managed, and accordingly, preemptive actions are taken across. So that's how we monitor, and that's how we do it for the logistics industry.
Okay, thank you, Agnelo. We will come back to this conversation, but right now we'll go to the air mode. Joachim, we just heard from a shipper his challenges and how a logistics service provider handles some of those issues. They were more talking from the context of the JIT, just-in-time logistics model, automotive. Give us an idea about what is happening in Frankfurt Airport, how you handle some of these models, and what is the kind of infrastructure development that is happening at the airport.
So if we look at just-in-time logistics, and it's not a new phenomenon. I remember when I was before university, I had summer jobs at the Mercedes plant back home in Sindelfingen. So I actually built SLs, yes. And already at that time, Japanese or Toyota production system were part of the DNA of an automotive manufacturer. So just-in-time management is not a new thing. It is, the essence is how to reduce, minimize inventory for the cost of inventory, for the cost of storage, but also for the cost of risk of production. And so any good supply chain manager in automotive would avoid inventory, but at the same time would also avoid air cargo, as it's really expensive. So where do we come into play? It's when those streamlined, very lean, just-in-time production flows get out of balance, when there's something going wrong. And you already talked a bit about how you're trying to mitigate the risk on those disruption of established supply chains that are usually, if you look at the continent, on road or rail, or if you look intercontinental on sea. In Europe, we also have barges used by manufacturers. When they get out of hand, then air cargo comes in, because avoiding a standstill of a factory, of a supply chain, is saving much more cost than the cost of having a production cut. Therefore, we come in for smaller volumes with a vast passenger network, where we connect the whole world with each other. We have 300 destinations, so there are at least 5 destinations out of India that are connected to Frankfurt every week for non-stop flights, plus cargo flights as well. And the whole way of integrating that into the supply chains is by first our location. I mean, air cargo is a bit like real estate. There are only 3 variables. It's location, location, and location. And being in the real center of Europe, the actual geographical center of the European Union and Britain, is about half an hour east of Frankfurt Airport. So we're right there in the middle of Frankfurt, of Europe, also in the middle of all the OEMs in Europe, all the first-tier suppliers of Europe as well that are reachable within 2 to 4 hours of truck driving from Frankfurt Airport. And at the same time, we have the largest network of freight forwarders sitting in Frankfurt. Out of the 25 top air cargo freight forwarders in the world, 24 have a gateway inside the airport fence at Frankfurt Airport. And we're not just working with, we have Daxe here, we have, and Shikhar mentioned Siva as a subsidiary of CMA-CGM. We have the big ones, but we're also working with Indian carriers. We're just cooperating with Jeena on the pharmaceutical part. So if you need a contact, you just have to call your pharma colleagues to get into Frankfurt. But even, say, SLS Skyways from Delhi, they're a good partner with us as well. And on the other side, we also have a strong freighter network. So we not just handle passenger aircrafts for high frequency overall destination capacity to salvage any disruption of your supply chain. You can even send full freighters into Frankfurt. An extra full freighter in Frankfurt doesn't make a change to us. It is another full freighter. So the capacity is there to handle anything you can throw at us. And that also includes any kind of good that you can fly. It can fly via Frankfurt Airport. And especially if you look at new EV, the EV revolution, EV batteries are a massive challenge to safety in aviation. So you can't put them on passenger aircrafts, but we have the freighter network as well, so you can put them on the freighter aircrafts. And we have specialized service partners at Frankfurt Airport that would work with this one. Now, once you arrive in Frankfurt, we have a strong digitized platform, our air cargo community system, that connects most of the airlines, all of the cargo handlers, most of the freight forwarders together, so you have a high visibility. If your supply chain goes wrong and you have an extra transport, you want to exactly know where it is. You want to have speedy customs processes. And our collaboration with the customs office at Frankfurt Airport is very, very close to have fast custom import procedures, so it is on the road as quick as possible. With our speed gate infrastructure, if you have a full charter, we can have the full load of the full charter inside your freight forwarder's warehouse, ready to be transported to the receiving outstation or the factory or the warehouse, wherever you need it, within 4 to 6 hours, which is unprecedented in an airport our size, but we can manage these kind of things. That's a key component there. And the other part is that we actually have the capacity. With our master plan, we're adding another 40,000 square meters of warehousing inside the existing cargo cities, as well as another 150,000 square meters in an extension that will be linked to the airport, that is directly linked to 2 of the most frequented motorways, Autobahn, that connect all of Europe with Frankfurt Airport, as well as a multimodal railway station. We still don't have the fantasy how that connects with air cargo, but if somebody solves that problem, then we can build it at Frankfurt Airport as well. So there's room to grow. There's the digital infrastructure, there's the network, there is the infrastructure and the group of companies that work together. And I'm actually quite happy that we have a tractor manufacturer there, because spare parts is not part of just-in-time management or not of the regular supply chain management, but spare parts is a very important part of the after-sales of your product. And if you look at the spare parts, especially for agricultural machinery, if we are not able to bring those spare parts to the broken down tractors, the combines, that could actually mean a loss of harvest, especially during harvest season. If you can't repair just in time when something breaks down because you don't get the spare part there in time at the right quality, that might result in a loss of harvest, which can lead into food shortages in a lot of regions. So what we do with the air cargo, what you do with your products, with your logistics, our humble part as an airport is actually saving lives by providing spare parts for your products, so you can have the harvests that you need to feed the people as well.
Okay, thank you, Joachim, for taking us through the entire list of developments happening at the airport, from digitalization to how you handle the EV batteries. Shikhar, let me come to you. A few things that Joachim now mentioned, for example, how air cargo comes into the picture of automotive logistics, particularly when there is a disruption, something goes out of hand. Can you relate to what he is saying? When do you see air cargo coming into your logistics and supply chain?
Yeah, so very rightly told by him. So especially related to spares, air cargo is of critical importance. We have something called BDT. It's like breakdown tractors. So those are most critical shipments which have to move by air at the shortest possible time, because it's a breakdown tractor, it cannot function without that part. So that is where we look for the fastest options, and as soon as it can reach to the customer or the dealership for this thing. Apart from that also, we have many tractors which are have to be put on trials currently. Like suddenly we have some requirement to put some of our alpha build units into US and Canada for trials in -22, -25 degree temperature. So it needs to reach within a specific date, and that is where again air cargo comes into play. And so like his is a very critical transshipment airport, maybe in the movement to US. So we would definitely look forward to faster connections and better handling at the transshipment airport or any other airport for that matter. So definitely it comes, we don't have that kind of a scale, because per se tractors and automobiles we can't ship by air, but then there are many ancillary and trial modes which are there, which are absolutely critical to be moved through air freight.
Okay, thanks, Shikhar, for clarifying that. Can I ask a follow-up question? Is there any particular challenge that you face on the air mode, on the infrastructure side, on the forwarding side? Also, you mentioned to me about the odd size of tractors, which comes with some logistics challenges. Take us through these two things.
So when we are sending these tractors to different location and country for the trials, homologation and road test conditions, so the main challenge that we find in air freight is because of the odd dimension of the tractor. One is it can never fit into a passenger aircraft. It has to go into a freighter. Now there might not be freighter services, this requires a specialized handling altogether. So even the freighter services, may not happen, because sometimes the height goes above this thing. Then what we need to do is kind of deflate the tires and bring it down by a feet or a feet and a half, like that. So these are some intricate challenges which we face while shipping out these ODC platforms by air freight. And spares and all are mostly sorted out. It's only that we expect to have a good connection from the transshipment hub ports that are there.
Okay. Thanks for that. Let me go to Agnelo. We heard a bit about now on the air mode, what is happening over there. Can you take us through how the initiatives that you have at Jeena and Company, plus what are the kind of innovations that you do at the company to handle some of these issues?
Yeah. In terms of the initiatives, what we taken is now for the air freight. When you talk about the air freight one, we have for the urgent cargoes, for the spares, we have a just-in-time delivery model with us. In terms of not waiting in for a consolidation or not waiting in for the other cargoes to be accumulated. If it's an urgent one, we have an express mode with us for making the shipment move on an express mode. Pickup is express, custom cleared, boom, it moves across. We tend to go in for direct flights, especially for cargoes which are to a certain destination. And if not direct, then we'll go to the major transshipment port hub like Frankfurt, and then we'll have our partners do an express delivery by road to the end location. So this is a total end-to-end model which we use as an initiative for express urgent delivery cargoes. And if the cargo is not that important, urgent, or what, we have sea air models also, which we use it by sea, connecting to Dubai, and then taking it by air. So in this scenario, you have a mid-level transit time, but the cost is not as a complete air freight. And in terms of that way, the cargo also reaches at a certain deadline which is given to us. In terms of ocean freight, the innovation is again whether it is we are using flatbed, flat pack containers, open top containers, depending upon the size of the cargo, or we have regular consolidation from our end to various ports, which is weekly and which is on schedule and which is as per the deadlines which is given to us by the carriers because of our consolidation programs with various carriers. So these are some of the things we do in the international freight forwarding logistics. At the local point, where we are currently doing with some customers is like a 30-minute just-in-time delivery and 2 hours sourcing just-in-time for them. So in this way, what happens is we are reducing their inventory, their working capital, because they are not holding on to that. So we get the inflow. We ensure that it is sourced within that area within 2 hours and it is delivered to them in 30 minutes. So this helps us in feeding in the line assembly, and it goes into the main assembly. So these are some of the innovators what we do because we specifically specialize in the automobile vertical through our partnership. So this helps us also to have a total control, and though it is outsourced, but it is into my controllable activity which I control across, and I see how to get it monitored through my control tower.
Okay, you have a JV that is dedicated for automotive, and give us an idea about how the forwarding side and this JV, how they integrate together to work to provide solutions.
Jeena Logistics has its presence in 6 continents and more than 150 countries. So what we do is we do all the supply chain management from end to end in terms of picking up, custom clearance at origin, ocean, air, getting it into India. Then we have a custom network brokerage, transportation, and this feeds into Jeena Schnellke. Because end of the day, that the ex-customer has some material coming in from there, it is our expertise which gets it into India, and then through the Jeena Schnellke model, we feed into his system.
Okay. Thanks, Agnelo, for that. Joachim, you have been traveling to India for a long time, and Frankfurt Airport has been a big supporter of this conference, Auto SCM. Give us an idea about what is your impression about the Indian automotive sector and how you see Frankfurt Airport as supporting this ecosystem here in India.
I guess the thing that stands out most to me is the development, especially for the first-tier suppliers, but also from the big manufacturers that have factories or subsidiaries here, especially in this region, but also in the Pune region, and how the first-tier suppliers managed to, and Michael from Daimler also mentioned that earlier, moved from a cheap alternative to products being produced in Europe or even in China, to being a quality product at good costs. So now, as you heard, Michael and I are from the same region of Germany. we are very precise. We are very focused on precision, on cutting off costs as well. Somebody calls us the Scots of Germany. Others say that Scots are actually from our region kicked out of the country because they spend too much money. And there was always this struggle between my hometown Sindelfingen with the biggest Mercedes plant and a newer plant up north in Bremen, also Germany, never reaching the precision and the efficiency of the Sindelfingen plant. And we were really, really proud of it. Now, Michael just told me that if you have powertrains coming out of Chennai now, they have a higher quality than the ones produced back home in Germany. That scares me a bit, but on the other hand, that is a good picture on how the automotive industry of India is developing. So becoming a supplier, first-tier supplier to OEMs, but being an OEM yourself. And if you ask, what role does Frankfurt play with it? I love the quote that Girish did on the first panel. It says, we're moving from friendships to partnerships. And I mean, I've been traveling to India since 2014, mainly at that time working with GMR for Indira Gandhi International Airport. Ronan's been here, I think, all his life. So we see India as a place that we regularly visit. We are here to build up friendships and also partnerships to work on this. And if we go to a level inside Frankfurt Airport itself, we have a very strong air cargo community. It used to be business acquaintances, but now it is actually a group of friends that are heavy competitors. But if times get difficult, and the best example for this was pandemic, when times get really hard and you need to be resilient, friendships are the ones that you actually count on. Friendships will survive any hacker attack. It will survive any orange elephant in the white room or anything else that global economy throws on us. And building on that level of long-time partnerships and friendships will create resilient supply chains, but also will give you the sources of mitigation and risk, mainly risk mitigation and problem solution capabilities that you don't have. And if you put that all together, then Frankfurt is a perfect place. Looking again at how the first tier suppliers develop, that would also mean they will soon start up with own subsidiaries in Europe. They will have to be closer to their customers. They have to organize their supply chains more from the European point, also the spare parts. Now, going along with the logistics providers that are entering the European markets from India, together with the big companies that are all over the world anyways, we also have the suppliers needing to enter the European market and find a place where to live. And then Frankfurt is the perfect place. First of all, we have all the non-stop flights to India, to Chennai, to Bangalore, to Hyderabad, but also to Mumbai and Delhi, obviously, and the connections are growing. But we also have a surprisingly big Indian diaspora in Frankfurt. The first times I traveled to India, I brought spices with me. No need anymore. I can chop all Indian spices in Frankfurt, no problem. And funny, I recently learned that 80% of the ethnic Indian Frankfurt Rhine-Main inhabitants are actually white collars. So there's a very positive perception about Indians living in our region. Most of them work in banking, IT, healthcare, and one or two also at the airport. So it is just like it's easy for Indians to start up shop in Frankfurt. We are here to help them, to assist them. Our regional government is supporting a lot. And I guess because coming here all the time also needs, you know us, we know you a bit, and I love your food. So that is the perfect place for the Indian automotive industry to get a foothold into Europe as well, and not just being like the third tier supplier, being really in the first tier of the supply chain.
Okay, good to hear that from you, Joachim. Thanks for that. Let me come to Shikhar. We heard about now talking about the partnerships and friendships. tell us how much you relate to that, particularly because when we spoke last time, you told me about some of the innovative solutions that you're getting from the logistics side. For example, what you mentioned is like Brazil is one of your main export market, and some of the solutions that you got to reach the market faster, you mentioned in our talk. Give us an idea about that relationship, that friendships with the logistics companies, how it is evolving.
Well, I think all the logistic service providers are partners in our growth, and we don't consider them as vendors, right from the big multinational companies to the smallest of service providers. So they are partners in our growth, and we intend to have a very good and warm relationship with them and ensure that just as much they fulfill our needs, we also look into their little requirements, like releasing their payments in time, or especially with the transporters, there's a lot around driver sensitivity, so taking care of the drivers at our end when they have to wait in the plant. Sometimes it happens that the containerization just stops, and maybe it is held up for 4-5 days. So those times we kind of try and take care of these drivers, give them decent accommodation, food, and all these things. So these small things, I think, go a long way in creating a relationship, and we are lucky that our partners value that association, and they also from their side do that extra bit. So talking about shipping lines, I mean, we have some excellent relations with them. We have one of them sitting here, so they are one of our largest supporters and service providers. So we operate on some global contracts with some of these carriers, and we have a wonderful relationship with them. And similarly, and we don't believe in working for a short period of time. So when you are partnering, you have to work with them over a long period of time. They understand our business requirements, we understand them, and then get into a win-win situation. So it's of critical importance for us in Mahindras, and we definitely look forward to maintaining excellent relationship and value our partners.
Okay, thanks for mentioning that. I would like to open for the Q&A for the audience in some time after one more question. Agnelo, can you please also relate to that? Give us an idea about, respond to this particular thing, how those relationships, how those partnerships have evolved for you in the past.
Yeah, I truly resonate with Sir's thoughts on the partnership, because we also don't look at our customers as vendors. It's a win-win situation for both, because if they grow, we grow, and vice versa. Our job is to make their life easy so they can concentrate on making innovations and building in their models. Our job is to orchestrate the pieces behind the scenes to ensure there is a seamless movement of cargo from A to B, with not increasing and added pressure into their landed cost, as well as taking care that they don't hold subsequent over inventory which attacks into their working capital. So, and our business, as we all know, is on relationships. Okay, the reason is because we all work with the same carriers. The shippers are working with the carriers on a direct contract. The forwarders work with the carriers on their contracts. We are asset-light organizations, but what gives us the edge is because the extra mile which we go for the customers, which we can deliver it to them at any part in the world, any time of the day, we get it across. So that's how I believe is that partnership, and the key to being together with the customer and being transparent is something which Jeena has always advocated. It's 125 years we are there in this industry. It's just because of being transparent with our partners, being open and saying that, okay, if we have goofed up, okay, we have made a problem, but this is a solution. Every problem has a solution, and how fast you do it in today's market rather than holding back, that's the key to that.
The last part of our conversation. Shikhar, can you give us an idea about, we were talking about all the ground realities of right now, looking into the future, the transport for tomorrow. Give us an idea about what you expect from your service providers in terms of solutions, particularly considering the operational challenges that you face, for example.
Yeah, well, I think that's a very important question because we do have a very high growth plans going in the future, and we intend to set our global footprints in more than 65 to 70 countries in the next 3-4 years. So definitely the partnership with the service providers is of critical importance, and we expect the normal things will always be there, but we expect them definitely to give us some value added services, maybe at destination, or maybe in terms of door deliveries, or fast customs clearances at destinations. I mean, wherever we have our subsidiaries, so we prefer door deliveries right at the plant, and also ensure that the whole thing is so seamless that, we incur as less as these detention demurrages as possible, because that is, an expense which comes unaccounted, and it is pretty huge. I'll give you an example. Like last year, our auto sector had to pay 40 crores of detention as almost 500 containers got stuck up in Durban, and it was due to some miscommunication from the service provider. And we went into a long holiday and the containers got stuck. So we don't want to come into a situation like that, and we definitely expect, some kind of proactiveness from the service providers in terms of mitigating these kind of risks. And also another thing is offer some innovative ideas to us. Like, as we had discussed, you mentioned a while ago that Brazil, the transit time we are getting now is 35 days instead of almost 60-65 days what we were getting. So that is pure innovation, because our goods reach the marketplace in half the time. They are sold much quickly, and we get the money also from the markets in half the time. So the entire business circle kind of benefits through these kind of innovative services. And yes, from the also expect that the digital platform which is offered by service providers and railway operators like Concor and all also improves the digital platform by road. Definitely needs some more improvement, because that moves largely with the unorganized sectors, and there we want some real-time improvements. And rail movements also, we expect that to build up a more sustainable business, we would like to promote rail movements, but we should get some flexibilities, especially from shipping lines and all. Like we have 10 days, 7 days cutoffs before the ships sailing. So that should be mitigated, and we should be accommodated for executing our shipments in the fastest possible time. So I think these are the key things which we would look forward to.
Thank you, Shikhar. Agnelo, we heard few things, very important things about how shipper thinks and what he expects from a service provider, speed, digitalization, rail, efficiency. Can you respond to some of them?
Yeah, these are all the entire gambit of the supply chain in terms of thinking out of the box, speed to delivery, digitalization. So what we do is basically we ensure that there's a total visibility for the customer from point A to point B. And in terms of right from the pickup of the material, in terms of movement of the cargo, we talk into the carriers. What we require from the customers normally is the advanced planning if possible, because a proper planning will really help the service provider to plan the mode of shipment, how it can go, how it can reach, what are the deadlines to be maintained. So because sometimes we are also in uncontrollable situations which are not in our hands because of geopolitical reasons, the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, there's a lot of things which goes across. But with the proper planning, it gives us the edge so we can get alternate solutions. And there where AI or digitalization helps us in our control tower is where we do the route mapping, we see unexpected delays, we can do the exception management, we can do the planning, we can come up with the proper detailed way of how this things can move seamlessly and provide the solution to the customer.
Okay, thank you, Agnelo. Joachim, what do you think about the future of transport, particularly from an airport and a cargo point of view?
I mean, digitalization has been around quite a long time, and you mentioned it again. We still have a bit of a way to go. Airports like Frankfurt or Amsterdam Schiphol had a head start with the cargo community system that will give the transparency to your watchtowers in order to have your supply chains under control. That if you look for risk mitigation, you have more confidence into those airports that have a good cargo community system, that have a good visibility, so you have more confidence in actually routing main cargo flows, but also alternate cargo flows in the case of supply chain disruptions through those airports. And there's still a way to go. We're working on a lot of projects currently in making even more data flows possible to give more transparency. And what we also already introduced is also the possibility for the freight forwarder to actually not just monitor, but also control the cargo flows at this very small part of the whole supply chain that is the airport, between the aircraft and the warehouses, in directing how those your cargo flows can go through the airport in order to suit your customers' needs the best. So slow it down if it's too fast, or speed it up if it is too slow. Get it into the right special handling area, and these kind of things that can be controlled. And there's a big next step coming up officially on the 1st of January. One record should be the standard for all air cargo implemented by IATA, which is a data format that allows everybody to collaborate who are ready to use one record. And we are very proud as Frankfurt Airport that the first server was developed in Frankfurt and is public domain, so can be used by anyone in the world to set up their own one record server in order to integrate those data flows. That is a massive part. The other part that we didn't discuss at all yet on this conference is autonomization of different flows. Autonomous vehicles that do cargo transport, that make a complete paradigm shift how you organize supply chain, going from optimizing the most costly resources that you have, and in Europe that will be drivers and staff, into having more seamless flows that reduce, that actually create real flow and reduce the waste in our processes in a real Muda kind of way, reduce the Muda in your processes, and that will also a big step. It is very challenging in air cargo because we don't have standardized boxes and sizes and these kind of things, but it is the next big step coming up in order to give the right logistic solutions to what you actually need.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Let me conclude the panel here. It was a very interesting conversation for me. I've heard from a shipper what are challenges he faced from trucking to shipping to export markets. The challenges we also heard from the service provider, how the kind of solutions that that we could see how they're working on the solutions, and then how an airport plays a very important role in the whole supply chain. Let me thank all my panelists for being here. It was a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.